So I don't know if you guys saw this story about this young man. At first time when it came out, there was a video that was going viral. This is the video. This man is holding a gun. I'm not gonna play the video. And he shot this particular man. The man survived. I think he was shot on both legs or something. And then he turned around and there was someone in the door, and that person was this young man you're seeing in the video right here. His name was Litha. Litha was actually a keyboard player, a church keyboard player, and he was shot coming from practice, from keyboard practice. And I think they still were going to a Bible study. I can't remember exactly. It was getting late. Now, at first, people just thought it was a gang shooting. It was a gang, one of those gang violence, maybe one from one gang or one gang. This was not it. Number two, there was also a suspicion that maybe this is on extortion, particularly this thing of protection money. It's called protection money, where they come and require money and will charge you a certain amount monthly, and maybe the person didn't want to pay, and that's why they were being shot. So the first, when this story broke out, that's the ideas that people had when they saw this. The story was sad, but that's what they thought was the case. The story was actually much worse than that. It was actually worse than that. So I'm actually making this video. I would have made the video yesterday or day before. I did report it a few days back when I heard about it on Facebook over there, but it was not clear yet what exactly was the story. So now we have clarity on what the story was. And I'm telling you, this here tells you the state of how fallen this world is. The state of how fallen this world is. This young man was killed by a person who was trying to prove to a gang. That's all. There's nothing to it. Because the thing also that kind of caught people off is that Litha says, he says, I'm sorry. So people thought maybe he wronged this guy or something like that. And so that was kind of like the stories that were going around there. So when I heard those particular two first stories, I was just not sure. I was kind of like just left it. I left it alone at that. And then later on, I then said, you know what, I'm going to have to get back into it. I'm going to have to get back into the story to find out exactly what the story was. And I remember somebody asked me in the comments, what exactly was the story about and whatnot. And I said some of the things that were floating online, but I said, I'll get back to the story because it wasn't clear. So it turns out he didn't even know him. He didn't do nothing to him. He didn't step on his toes. He didn't step on his shoe. He didn't ask his girlfriend out. Like nothing. No interaction. The only thing was that man who shot him, was trying to prove that he was worthy to be a gangster. It was an initiation shooting. An initiation ritual. Initiation into the gang. About a pointless, like when you say what do you even say there? A person is killed. He didn't do anything wrong. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And you know, in this picture here that I posted here, I did close. There was a child right here. He wasn't even bothered. This man was not even bothered. Now, I can tell you at the death of Litha has a lot of people writing on it, because now the person who could be heard telling him to shoot is going to get in trouble. They're going to get in trouble, because that's going to come out to accomplice. Because there's a point when the gun jammed. He shot and the gun jammed, and he turned back and he's told, no, shoot. And that gun jam, I'm telling you, that gun jam was that warning. Stop, don't go further. And he goes further with it, and he shoots, and I guess he cycled the gun, and whatever bullet was holding off, he cycled it, it popped out, and he shot. And he shot this young man there. Not because the person had done anything. Not because the person had offended him. Because he wanted to be approved into a heartless gang. You have to understand, humans don't need provocation, because sometimes people justify fights or anger. Let's say they fought this person because they were angry. Maybe there's something done. They don't need that. In this world, without provocation, without being provoked, a person can still act wickedly. Because we sometimes tend to think, you know what, no, nobody can do something without any provocation. Yeah, there you go. No provocation. No, maybe they must have done. No, they didn't do nothing. Now, we know that there's sometimes gang violence in jail. There's no jail. It's in the community. He was at the tech shop. I'm telling you, I don't understand a person who takes another person's life. I don't get it. But that's, if I probably got it, if I understood it, maybe I'll be a killer. So I don't understand it, and I'm fine with not understanding it, because it becomes very clear. Life is sacred, and we leave it at that. But when a person is, like you see right now, the police need to tense up. You know, all these thugs, they don't need, there's no discussions. There's no discussions. These thugs are turning terrorists. The level of violence that we are seeing, unprovoked. What do you mean? Unprovoked violence? Now you understand why the Bible says, if those days were not shortened, he says the level of perishing that would be on the earth was unheard of. Now you have a reference. The world gets worse. This is why I caution people against the prosperity gospel, because the prosperity gospel makes people ignorant of the evils of the world, conditions them to not see the evils of the world. So they're just sitting there thinking, blessing is ahead, blessing, my money is coming, all this kind of, oh, good things, no weapon formed. The world is evil. The world is evil. And all this stems from the corruption of man in wanting to define good. You see that thing that Eve did? Yeah. When she said she saw that the tree was worthy to she was creating her own conclusions contrary to what God had said. And that's where we got this. The world turns crazy when we turn to our own ideas. There is a core root defined life, and that's what we see with what God has provided. God has given us a defined life. We follow that. Because when we step out of that and try to define it by ourselves, we get into problems. It's the Reality Show with the Daily Christian Commentary videos. Condolences to the family, friends, church, and everyone. Recently lost my mom. It's a hole. It just leaves a hole in you. It's a hole. You can't feel it. It's a hole. He was preparing for. Yes, the heart of man is terribly wicked. Who can know it? Unprovoked. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Other episodes down today, they'll be down in the pinned comments. This was a church guy, passionate about the keyboard. He had a TikTok account, Litha Govuza, and you'll see him playing. That's all he did. Church. So, bothered nobody. This video, this thing here, it reminds me of that young man who died a couple of years back in Limpopo, I think in the Polokwane area. If you guys remember the story, it's an old story, but that story was very traumatic. There was a whole trend of justice for pertaining that story. There was a young man who was part of a gang group, and these guys were terrorizing the community and so forth. And there was one guy who was a member of a church, and they were trying to recruit. I can't remember if his name was Tabiso or what. They were trying to recruit this boy, and this boy refused. Not part of a gang. He was a church guy, and one day they met him. They took him and they shot a video of them dragging him after they'd killed him. They made a video. If you remember, they said that he had a family member who was part of the SAPS. I don't know what happened to that story. This reminds me of that story. Church guy, innocent, didn't want any part. These are vagabonds. These people need to be remove them. Remove. We don't need these people in our communities. Now, Durban, it's warfare. It's turning into warfare. Because of these young people that are joining gangs. Cape Town, let's not even say. It just keeps getting worse, So the arm of the law pertaining these groups and these individuals needs to be visibly seen, because this can't go forward. And I said, didn't do nothing. No provocation, nothing.